You're not necessarily a late bloomer. You are firmly within God's will. Avoid marrying Hagar. Hagar symbolizes attempting to assist God rather than patiently waiting for his promise. Ishmael, her son, represents the consequences of being impatient with God's promises. And while this message applies to both men and women, I specifically address the men. Ladies, there are always valuable insights for you as well. So in Genesis chapter 15, verse 4, Abraham assumed that his servant would inherit his fortune or estate. However, God corrected him, declaring that he would have a son. Despite Abraham's old age, he believed God, and God counted it as righteousness. Fast forward to chapter 16, years had passed, and Abraham's wife, Sarah, influenced him to be with Hagar. In today's context, a lot of young men, they're players, they engage in casual relationships, whether it's a one night stand or a temporary girlfriend, without intending to marry. Sometimes, unexpectedly, a woman becomes pregnant due to these unplanned encounters. This situation can lead them to marry someone whom God didn't intend for them to be with. Despite their desire to do the right thing, this becomes a reason for many single mothers. While I don't condone sinful behavior, I recognize that nobody's perfect. Besides, I'm not even perfect. But God's mercy remains abundant. Understand that imperfections are a part of being a human. But it's essential to recognize that before reaching that critical point, if you're not in that situation right now and you are childless like Abraham, you must surrender to God. Each person has a purpose, and indulging in certain behavior creates adverse effects on your success and your purpose. Sometimes it even derails the specific purpose God has for you. While God grants us multiple purposes in life, some never recover because they drop out of school or shift their focus to providing for their child and the child's mother, which I think is commendable. However, instead of them having the time to concentrate on their study and their relationship with God, during that time, that would have allowed God to shape them and their future. I want to encourage you, if you're a young man who left school prematurely or even older, consider finishing what you started or explore other career paths. God didn't call you to work a menial job. There's a greater purpose awaiting you. God didn't call you into a lifestyle like that, but unfortunately, sin sometimes leads us to places where we don't belong. It becomes our comfort zone, stagnating our progress. However, God has something bigger in store for you. He wants you to finish what you've started. For those who haven't faced this situation yet, especially young men who may think that they're invulnerable, remember that it only takes one moment to change everything. Be cautious of Jezebels and Delilahs who can lead you astray. Unplanned pregnancies happen, so don't let anyone pressure you into a life that God didn't intend for you. And all it takes is one witch who or another woman who knows how to play the game to get pregnant for you, even though you probably didn't want that. Above all, strive to live a holy life, even when it's challenging in today's society. God's guidance can help you if you submit to Him. Fast, pray, avoid negative influences. Your future self will thank you for obeying God. Consider how peaceful it is to be in God's will. And I understand that sadly, some fathers will miss important life events because mothers can have resentment or they're just evil. Like, how can you stop a father from attending his daughter's birthday or graduation? Don't get me wrong, I know that some fathers intentionally neglect their families, assuming they can show up only for significant moments. I sympathize with those who have experienced strained relationships with their fathers. It's tough when a father initially avoids acknowledging a child or spending time during crucial early years. However, I encourage you to allow them to step up now. Forgiveness takes time and there might be lingering resentment, but don't deprive your child of a father due to past behavior. Statistics show that having an involved father significantly impacts a child's life, leading to better outcomes like higher education and avoiding incarceration. Men play a vital role, especially in God. They are the head of the household. So be cautious about choosing a partner to have children with. While not all marriages work out, sincere planning and love reduces the chances of divorce. Marriages shouldn't be slowly because of having a child together. They didn't have much in common in the first place, but they remained together under the guise of preserving the family. But also, sometimes you want to make sure that you're doing the right thing, and you don't want your kids to grow up in a one parent household or with another family or with another person that is not their biological father. So I completely understand. However, in some situations, as the children grew up, their home became a battleground, a place where parents perpetually fought due to their incompatibility. And also because that was just not a part of God's will. The soul band that held them together was their shared child. Whether you're young, single, or older, if you haven't yet become a parent, trust that God can still fulfill that desire for you. Avoid rushing into relationships or putting yourself in situations that might lead to having a child out of wedlock. Such circumstances could force you into marriage or create a single parent situation. And we don't want that, especially in today's society. In Genesis 16, we see Sarah's attempt to help by taking matters into her own hands. She was tired of waiting for God's promise. So she convinced her husband, Abraham, later known as Abraham, to have a child with her maidservant, Hagar. Sarah believed this would fulfill God's promise of descendants. However, this decision led to complications. Hagar became pregnant and gave birth to Ishmael. Sarai's relationship with Hagar deteriorated and the household became so tense. I felt that, Sarah lost her integrity because she was so harsh with Hagar. Years later, God would fulfill his promise to Sarah and Abraham, right? The man, he got counted for righteousness and he allowed a woman to almost convince him out of his blessing. But God is so merciful that he fulfilled his promise by giving them a son named Isaac. Therefore, Ishmael and Isaac grew up together, but their relationship was also strained. Ishmael mocked Isaac. Sarah now was distressed. Eventually, Sarah asked Abraham to send Hagar and Ishmael away. Sadly, oh my God. But God assured Abraham that he would take care of Ishmael. And Hagar and Ishmael went into the wilderness. The story of Ishmael and Isaac serves as a cautionary tale. When we try to manipulate God's promises or take matters into our own hands, we risk complicating our lives. Trust in God's timing. Trust God's timing. Even when it makes no sense, even when there are delays, even when it's 10 years later. I know it's so hard to wait. God may have given you dreams, He may have given you vision, you haven't seen the results yet, but keep on waiting. Keep on trusting. As long as you're doing your part, as long as you're actively waiting, not just sitting there and expecting God is just going to drop a miracle in front of you. Seek Him and remember that He knows the plans He has for you, as stated in Jeremiah 29, verse 11. Let's avoid running ahead of God and trying to help God, because in the end, it doesn't work out. We see how it affected its entire generation, and it's still affecting this generation because we are all Abraham's child. We're descendants of Abraham, as the Bible put it. I hope this message was a blessing to you. Receive it with clarity. For those who it's intended to reach, I pray that God reach and touch your heart to wait on God. Whether you're young or you're old, just understand that God promises are sure. He loves you and He wants what's best for you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. God bless you.